Hi guys, welcome back to another process video. I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Today is Saturday that I am recording this, and this should be up today as well. And what I am doing today is another grid layout. It's kind of similar to the layout that I had shared, I think last Saturday. And I am doing a grid of 9 squares. I had to think about that for a second. 9 squares on this layout, and I'm just going to take the white cardstock and back it with this speech bubble cardstock or pattern paper, and I'm going to cut out the middle so I can still use some of the extra pieces. And this is from an old Scraptastic kit that I was trying to kill. I had just a few little pieces left, so I wanted to use up the scraps, and I like to do some of these grid layouts and things like that when I just need the scraps to be used up because I don't have a lot to do layering and things, so the grid layout works really well for this application. So I'm just going to use the white cardstock, and this is pretty untypical of me. I'm going to use just the white cardstock, and I'm not going to use any mixed media on the background. And I took these cards from one of the cut apart sheets, plus I had some, and I just show you that I cut them up from the cut apart sheet. And I have some pattern paper too, and I'm going to kind of interchange them. So I'm going to put them in a couple different places in a grid layout, and alternating between the actual like cut apart picture type word sayings and just the pattern paper. And I'm going to use 3 photos on this layout, and what I ended up doing is taking the 3 photos and making them black and white because they all had different colors and things, and I thought the black and white looked better and it more cohesive look to the page. So I just printed those on my Canon selfie printer because I was just kind of doing this layout on the fly. I didn't pre-prepare or anything for it, and I am going to cut out these pieces, and I wanted to mount each one of the photos, and that one didn't have, the one in the top middle didn't have a piece of paper, so I just cut out another piece of paper and mounted the photo on that paper. And here are some little arrow or chevron shapes that came on one of the pattern papers. The whole piece of paper was these chevron-y kind of arrow shapes, and I pretty much used all of it by cutting it out like this and using it as embellishments or layering strips and things like that on the page. And I did the same thing for this because I had only a couple pieces left, and it worked out perfect. And I think it adds some movement and stuff across the page because I'm kind of using them as arrows so that it takes your eye around the page, and you're going to see some of my embellishments are kind of similar like that. It just kind of helps you move around the page. That My Life was a wood veneer that I got from the Scraptastic kit, and I just backed it with some of the blue grid paper so that it showed up and it didn't have all the background that was distracting behind it, and I just glued that on. And these are some, I think they're called bits and pieces from October Afternoon. They also came in the kit, and I had some left over, so I'm just kind of scattering them across and around the page to be kind of what I liked and what I think it looks best. And the nice thing about this October Afternoon ones that I really like is that on one side it typically has the pattern and the phrase, but on the other side it just has the pattern. So if you don't like the phrase but you love the color, it's perfect because you can just flip it over and use the back side. So here I'm just going to be layering some of those arrows up behind some of the photos. The red label and the yellow label in the bottom right and the bottom left are from a Scraptastic cut apart sheet that I just cut up, and I'm using them as layering pieces. And like I said, most of the little what are they called? The little phrases and things are from the October Afternoon bits and pieces, I believe. And it's just a little die cut pack that came in the kit. And now I'm just fiddling here, trying to make sure I like the way it's placed, and now I'm going to start gluing them down, and I am eyeballing this. I don't have a T ruler, or anything like that, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and I think I did a pretty good job. To my eye it looks okay, so I just went for it. I am kind of weird about having things straight, but typically I can eyeball it decently, and it's okay. Plus, like I said, I don't have a T ruler, so I end up having to do it because I don't have much of a choice. So here I'm just going to glue down all of the 9 squares, and then I'm going to go back and glue some more of the embellishments down that I don't get in this layer. And I'm also using my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive, and I'm using the fine liner bottle because it is my favorite, especially for these little bitty bits and pieces to get them glued to the page. It's a little bitty tip so you can really get into those places, so I really like it for that. Highly recommend getting it. You can get it on Amazon or Hobby Lobby. If you go on Hobby Lobby you can use your coupon, and I think on Amazon they sell it in a 2-pack. I can't remember if the 2-pack is the same same bottle because I know they have different tips on there, but I went to Hobby Lobby and got mine. So now I'm just gluing each of these on, and you can see I'm kind of using my grid mat to try to make this somewhat even. Again, this is all by hand. Sorry about that. My dog just barked at my cut. It's not a good video, apparently, unless my dog or my cat makes some kind of noise. Anyway, back to the layout. So here I'm just sticking these things down, and I really like how the arrows, like I said earlier, give the movement to the page. You can see that that gray arrow right there points to the picture on the right, and then you can see the red arrow in the bottom right points to the other photo clusters, or not photo clusters, but embellishment clusters to the left. And like I said, I just think it gives a nice cohesive look. That little die cut that I'm trying to place under that blue camera or aqua camera says InstaLove, and that is a Scraptastic exclusive. We get those in the kit a lot, and it's just a die cut that fits and slips behind a picture or embellishment cluster. And then I'm going to use this piece of flair here that says today with 4 or 5 stars. And I always use my Stampin' Up! Dimensionals for these flair. They have a little bit of a recess back to them, and the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals are just the right size to glue them to the page without adding any extra bulk, which I really, really like because I don't like to put a whole lot of bulk in my pages, and I think having that flair is about as thick as I ever want it, so it's perfect to be able to use the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals for backing it. So now that I glued everything down, I'm going to use my Wink of Stella pen, or, oh, sorry, I'm going to date first my picture, and then I'm going to use my Wink of Stella pen and add some glitter to a couple of different areas of the layout. I'm just using my Memento Tuxedo black ink to do the stamping, and I find this is my favorite black ink. I haven't tried a ton of black inks, but the Stampin' Up! Ink I used to have always had kind of a bluish kind of color to it. Now they've changed the formulation of their ink pads, so they may be better than what they used to be, but in the past they just didn't stamp very true black. And the Tim Holtz doesn't stamp all that well, the Distress ink. When I use a rubber stamp, it kind of has a watery look to it. So I end up using this Memento Tuxedo black a lot when I use black. And I really like it a lot. Plus it's waterproof, so, or alcohol based proof, so that if I need to use it for my Copa coloring and things like that, it works really well as well. So that's why I use the Memento Tuxedo black. Here I'm just coloring in that InstaLove with that Wink of Stella pen. I love my Wink of Stella pen. I probably could use it on all layouts and stuff, but I try not to. It is just gives the perfect amount of shimmer without adding a whole bunch of chunky glitterness, but it's just enough to add a little bit of extra something to the page. So I ended up putting it on a couple different die cuts and then on this wood veneer just where it says My Life. And now I'm going to start working on the title, and the title of this one is going to be Shelby at 7, because this is some pictures of my daughter when she turned 7. I think it's actually, yeah, it's all like within the day or two of her birthday. So I'm just going to end up using this card here to write Shelby at 7 on top of it. And I'm using October Afternoon, the Daily Flash Collection letters. The Scripty font and the block font come together in one pack. And that is going to be what I use for my layout, like I said, and I'm going to end up using my fine liner bottle and just glue down a couple other things here that didn't fit. I have these chipboard arrows that I think are going to add a lot more movement to the page as well, so I want to use these up because, like I said, I'm trying to get rid of my stash, and I like the added texture that these give because they are that chipboard and they're a little bit thicker, just a little bit different than all the flat embellishments. So I really, really like these. I love all chipboard stickers, and I tend to hoard them. I don't like using them because, you know, like anything, once you use them, they're on the page, but I guess when they're on the page, it's better than sitting in my stash. Now I'm going to take some of my homemade enamel dots and scatter them around the page until I find the layout that looks best, and this does take me a couple minutes to go through and figure out what I like the best on this. So while I'm doing that, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I have a Facebook page that I kind of use as a blog to let you guys know about what's coming up, what layouts I have, if I have any hauls. I haven't done a lot of hauls lately because I'm trying to save money, especially with the Christmas holiday, so hopefully after Christmas I might be able to share some things that I've received for presents. We're going to do a very light Christmas this year, but so yeah, if you would like to join me on my Facebook page, page, the link is below. I have an Instagram account, that is also below. So all my social media links and things like that are in the comment or the description section below. And I typically like to post project life videos on Tuesday and my process videos on Saturday if you are a new subscriber. So check back on those days. Sometimes I'm a little behind with life and everything, but I try to at least get one video up each of those days, and then I try to sprinkle some other ones in between, just depending on how crazy life is and things like that. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the layout. I'm going to show you some close-ups here, and I want to thank you guys so much, and stay tuned. There'll be pictures at the end, and have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye.